Hey, how's it going? Thanks for tuning into my my YouTube channel. Been working on lots of new music. Had a little bit of a setback a couple of weeks ago. My old Mac Mini crashed, and it's a Fusion drive. So there's, I guess, the advantage with the Fusion drive is you don't necessarily lose all the information, but it's just harder to get it off. But I have been able to restore and save most of the files of the projects that I've been working on recently. But it put me in a little bit of a pickle as far as being able to have a working system. The Mac Mini was, pushing 8 years. It was older, 16 gigabytes of RAM. It was usually kind of slow anyways. It was doing the work, but there were some things about it that were kind of kludgy sometimes. And so I went ahead and went for the upgrade to a Mac Studio, and the setup was very easy. 64 gigabytes of RAM is very fast. It's really impressive with what it can handle, what I've been able to throw at it. But the issue with that is it's a little bit of flaky support with the older interface that I had, which is the Focusrite Pro 40, and that had been working FireWire output, that kind of thing. FireWire's gotten to the point where it's outdated, and it long been outdated, but we've got USB-C interfaces, that kind of stuff that are out there. But not too long ago, last year, I had purchased a Mackie Onyx, and the Mackie Onyx 16. The intent of that was more for rehearsal, band rehearsal space, that kind of thing. Just having a mixer that I could easily use for doing rehearsals, and then maybe even just do small little one-off acoustic gigs or something, to be able to have a little mixer that can be portable. But one advantage of the Mackie Onyx that I really liked about it is the ability to record. So you're able to you can do a direct output feed of all 18 channels, all 18 inputs, and then also monitor playback through the mixing board itself. So it's kind of a cool, affordable mixer that can do a number of different things that you need it to do. So if you're looking of maybe doing some live stuff and that kind of stuff, but you like a mixer that has a fader and some faders on it and that kind of stuff, and it's easy to use. And it also has the ability to be able to do direct recording. Any one of these inputs up to the 18 inputs, of course, the first 8 are mono, then you go to stereo 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, on up through that. But, that still gives you plenty of preamps to do whatever pretty much you need to do when it comes to recording. If you want to mic a whole drum kit, you certainly got enough to do that. If you're just recording, maybe micing up a band for rehearsal, you just want to kind of capture the performance, you've got plenty of inputs for that. The rehearsal itself, and it's got some cool capabilities along with that. But one of the things that I kind of like about the use of it versus the Pro 40 is I can kind of leave everything plugged in, all the inputs kind of plugged in, ready to go. I've got an acoustic preamp, I've got a Boss GT1000 for guitars, bass, can use it for a number of different things. And I used to kind of want to record dry and then sort of change things within the software and be able to revise things within the software. But I found that for expediency, things like bass or acoustics, it's like I just want to get a nice clean signal and get it in and kind of be done with it to move on to the next thing, because I'm just sort of, you know, grabbing around the room and grab an instrument off the wall, and it's like, yeah, I'll do mandolin, I'm gonna do octave mandolin, bouzouki, fiddle, bass, guitar, whatever, just to kind of jump in between instruments. I can lay it down or I can record it. I can jump over to the microphone, I can add some vocals, throw down some ideas, that kind of stuff, and sort of developing a creative environment that as I develop ideas, I can get it committed onto a recording and get some scratch tracks going, that kind of stuff. Then later on, I can pull up that, you know, open up that session and listen back and you know, and kind of, you know, get an idea of whether or not my memory is serving me correctly, that it's a good idea or a bad idea or whatever, or that kind of thing. But you know, I can kind of come back and listen to something and kind of think, okay, was there anything good there that I could develop on, or is it junk, or, you know, whatever. You know, I can just sort of get into it and develop it, and you know, maybe, you know, change the tempo, maybe change some ideas, maybe develop things a little bit more, kind of get it to where it's a better idea, that kind of stuff. But at least you know, I'm getting it sort of committed as I come up with an idea, and I have a fast way to do that without having to unplug things too much, you know, that kind of thing, get in and out of it. And you know, I've got some sort of scratch, you know, program beats that I kind of have ready to go as a stock. So when I pull up a session, I can just get to the tempo that I want it, and I've already got sort of a beat there that's, you know, that's set that I want to use, and that, you know, I don't have to change too much to get started, but it gives me sort of a tempo to work with, and I can start recording ideas to that, and just committing things to tape. But you know, so I can do just about anything I want to do with this work environment that I currently have. So it's pretty, I think it's pretty cool. So anyhow, just thought I'd post an update on how things are going with the home studio, and thanks for tuning in.